On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla and EV podcast, Tesla introduces a 6-seat longer wheelbase Model Y variant in China. Plus, a new X post by Tesla CEO Elon Musk has many wondering if the new Tesla Roadster might finally be ready for a re-reveal. Tesla's summer software update delivers a bunch of fun new features and more. What's happening, friends? It is episode 520 of Ride the Lightning, your weekly Tesla and EV podcast, publishing on July 20th, 2025. My name is Ryan McCaffrey. Flanking me are my co-hosts this week, Daisy the Boxer, and who's over here? It's Mina, the future service dog, who just went into heat today. So this poor pup is going to have to stay hanging around the house for the next couple weeks, but it'll be fine. She'll get through it, and then we'll get her back out into the world and out training for her future life as a service dog. Coming up next week will be the Q2 earnings call, so as always, stay tuned for next week's episode where I will do my usual recap, highlights, and analysis. That's always fun to put together every week. It's always a sprint, but it is always fun when it gets put together. Also fun this week, I want to start the podcast here. A little birdie tells me that the Model Y Mini, as I've been calling it, aka a physically smaller, cheaper Model Y, will be announced at the earnings call this coming week. Now, I don't have any other details on it for now, and you certainly don't have to believe me, and maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I do trust this source. Although, even if that doesn't happen, one new Model Y variant did get announced this week, the Model Y L. Yes, it is the 6-seater, which we've talked about here before, which was rumored to be coming out of China, and that's exactly what happened. And yes, it's got a longer wheelbase by 6 inches, if you're curious, making the wheelbase on the Model Y L a couple inches longer than the Model X's wheelbase. It is a longer vehicle to better, of course, accommodate 3 rows of passengers. 2-2-2 is the seating configuration. And the overall length of it, by the way, if you're curious, with that longer wheelbase, it's 196 inches long from top to tail, or 7 inches longer than the regular Model Y. It's also 1.7 inches taller than the regular Model Y as well. We don't have pricing information yet, but here's what else we do know, and this comes courtesy of Tesla tipster Sawyer Merritt, who pulled these facts from information published publicly on China's industry ministry website, and then Tesla later announced it themselves on their Weibo social media page in China. So, it will be available in China to start with, and it'll be later this year. They're saying fall of 2025. So basically, either sometime in Q4 or possibly at the end of this quarter in September, that remains to be seen. No word yet on global availability, but as the Model Y is, as we all well know, Tesla's big moneymaker, I would be stunned if it didn't find its way to North America, and probably Europe too, though they seem to prefer smaller cars in general in Europe, so either way, the Model YL's probably coming all over the world, and probably sooner rather than later. My educated guess, for when we see it here in the US, Q1 of next year makes sense to me, because that could be a demand lever that Tesla gets to pull in what is traditionally their slowest quarter and the entire automotive industry's slowest quarter. Let's get to some numbers on the Model YL. The curb weight is 4,600 pounds, 4,605 specifically, which puts it 209 pounds heavier than the current Model Y all-wheel drive. And by the way, this version of the car, the Model YL, is also an all-wheel drive dual motor. Again, overall length is about 196 inches, putting it 7 inches longer than the current Y and about 5 inches, 6 inches shorter than a Model X. The one in the filing, again, is a dual motor with peak power outputs of 142 kilowatts in the front motor and 198 kilowatts for the rear motor. It has a lithium-ion pack, not an LFP. The battery cells for the Chinese version are supplied by LG. Top speed is 125 miles per hour. Payload capacity, 1,239 pounds. The tires, they're staggered on this one. 255, 45, 19s in the front, and 275, 45, 19s in the rear. It's got new wheels in addition to the staggered tire sizes. It's got new seats. It's got an optional new light gold exterior paint color, at least for China. It's got a modified rear and C-pillar design, and it's got a spoiler on the back. So let's talk through these things, because a few of them are surprising to me, most notably that they seem to have put some Model Y performance accoutrement on this thing, like the unique wheels, which if you take a look online, if you were to look them up, I'm not personally a fan. I don't love them, but certainly it's a subjective choice, to each their own on wheel design. Again, those staggered tire sizes also are a Model Y performance expectation. The Generation 1 Model Y Performance had staggered tires. The spoiler and the sportier performance seats, which you can see in the promotional imagery, you can see that they're the same sport performance seats that are in my car, the Performance 3. There are no shots of the interior yet, but you can see through the windshield on the photos that it's the same seats that are in the Model 3 Performance now. So all of those things that I just mentioned, I guarantee will be on the imminent new Model Y Performance, although the wheels could be different, or perhaps they might just be larger. They might be 21s for the North American market. And the reason I say that is because we've seen Tesla China do that before, where their Performance Y and their Performance 3 have the same wheel design as the 3 and Y built in North America, but in China they do it on a smaller wheel, smaller diameter wheel. That exclusive new paint color, that's a big surprise to me. In the official product photo, it doesn't look very gold, at least to my eyes. It looks more silver, with kind of just a little tinge of gold to it. Almost, maybe, kind of in the neighborhood of Tesla's old titanium silver metallic color. But picture that, if you know what it looks like or you want to look it up just on Google image search. The titanium silver metallic, but 3 to 4 shades lighter. So, whereas Stealth Gray, available now worldwide, is, in my opinion, just 1 shade darker than the outgoing midnight silver metallic, I feel like this new gold paint that China is offering on the Model YL is about 3 to 4 shades lighter than the old titanium silver metallic color. And I'm not saying that's an exact description, but I'm just trying to give you a reasonable idea of what this new paint color looks like. Now, will that paint color find its way to North America? If, and more likely when, the Model YL itself does? Probably eventually, but we still don't have glacier blue over here, though as I've recently suggested, I think there's a decent chance it could arrive with the performance version probably sometime this quarter. I very much hope so. As I mentioned a moment ago, there are no photos of the interior yet, so we don't know how fancy or not the second row seats are, nor what do we have a detailed look at the overall interior layout, but there's an overhead render that makes it clear that it is a 2-2-2 configuration, similar to the 6-seat Model X, where there's space in between the 2 second row seats. so you can easily step back to the third row. Now, all of this said, I think the Model Y L, assuming it is going to be released worldwide eventually, I think this thing could be huge for families looking for a minivan but want an EV. Because there basically isn't an EV minivan on the market unless you want to count the Volkswagen ID Buzz, which I would count it. And I'm not saying that as a slight. I'm actually saying it as a compliment. I think it's kind of the only thing that qualifies as an EV minivan on the market. Unfortunately, and I say this with some anecdotal evidence in terms of what I'm physically seeing with my own eyes around the very EV-friendly San Francisco Bay Area, but also I've got some numbers. The ID Buzz doesn't seem to be selling well. I think it just costs too darn much. It's like a $70,000+ vehicle. So I say anecdotal in that I've seen, I think, literally 3 of them total on the roads, and they've been out for a good little while now. And then I have some numbers to back that assertion up as well. It was the 47th best-selling EV in the United States in Q2 with an estimated sell-through of just 564 units. And I will have more on US EV sales for Q2, in other words, more from that same list, later in the podcast. And yes, when I'm talking about, this could be a minivan-like vehicle for a lot of families, I am fully aware that the 7-seat Model Y already exists, or I guess more specifically, it already existed and will soon exist again in Juniper form. But this 6-seat version, I think, is likely... Whoa, what is going on? What happened over there? Mina? Oh, you're okay. You hit the door and it surprised you. It's okay. It's okay. You're fine. Yeah, you're fine. It's okay. You want to come up here? Could you? No, not while I'm recording. Hi, pups. Okay. We got to get back to the podcast. You got to get back to it. Do you know Speak? Can we? I don't think so. Mina, Speak? Speak? No. Zelina knew that one. Anyway, back to the podcast. You got to get down here, pups. Thank you. So, 6-seat Model Y. Yes, 7-seat already exists, but the 6-seater, I think, is going to be appealing to many families seeking an EV minivan due to the additional length in the car that is no doubt going to add headroom, it's taller as well, and legroom as well to at least the third row, possibly also a bit more legroom in the second row too. That all remains to be seen. Now, as for price, how about price on the Model Y L? For now, all I can do is take an educated guess, but I think I have a pretty good educated guess. I think it could end up priced about the same as the upcoming new Model Y Performance is, given that it's got a lot of the same stuff, the spoiler, all the new wheels, all that stuff, the sporty seats, all that. So I think it could end up priced almost exactly the same. Now, is the Performance and the L going to be priced identically? Maybe not, but for the purposes of this thought exercise, I'm going to kind of just go with that as my presumption here. So, what and the assertion is, or the estimate here is, that you could choose for the same money the Performance version, which will give up the extra space, the extra seating, or for the same money you could choose the L, which will give up the Performance but get you the extra space, the extra seating. So, what is my number for both of them then? Well, the tax credit here in the United States will be gone by the time this vehicle finds its way out into the US market. So factoring that out entirely, I'm going to say a base price of $56,500. Now, why do I say that? Because the Performance Model 3 right now in the US is $7,500 more than the long-range all-wheel drive Model 3. And so I think it is reasonable to expect the same price gap between the long-range all-wheel drive Model Y and the Model Y L, and thus also the upcoming Model Y Performance. So 56.5, because it's $49K for the long-range all-wheel drive Model Y right now. So if we just add $7,500 to that, we get 56.5. Am I going to end up wrong? Probably. I mean, it'll be kind of impressive if I manage to guess that exactly correctly. Like, put me on The Price is Right. If I end up exactly right, get me to that showcase showdown. I'm going to win both showcases. But I think I'm going to be close on that price estimate. So Model Y L, if that sounds good to you and your family, start planning for it now, because I think it's going to be here soon. Like I said, I think Q1 in the US seems fairly likely. All right. My next story this week is selfishly my favorite one because it lets me talk about the Roadster a lot. It's going to be like a 5, maybe more minute segment, so I apologize in advance if you don't want to hear Ryan talk about the Roadster again. But I have good reason this time. Tesla CEO Elon Musk sparking hype and maybe even a bit of mystery to go with it with a post on X from last Sunday night, so the same day the last episode, 519, came out, 7:30 p.m. local time. I mean, we know this guy works 7 days a week. The fact that he's having a meeting at the design studio on a Sunday evening, not a surprise. But it's what he said coming out of that meeting that's got the hype going. The hype train has left the station. So he posted on X saying, at 7:30 p.m. last Sunday night, he said, "Just left the Tesla design studio. Most epic demo ever by end of year, period." And meaning the punctuation mark, not that he didn't say, but he said, most epic demo ever by the end of the year, ever, as a separate sentence. Again, I'll read that one more time. Just left the Tesla design studio. Most epic demo ever by end of year, ever. So a lot of folks seem to think that he is referring to the long dormant next generation Tesla Roadster. So are we back? Are we back? Did we finally get there? Are we back? Gosh, I hope so. Now, after all, let me build my case here for a minute. After all, Tesla VP of Engineering and friend of Ride the Lightning, Lars Moravy, did say right here on my podcast back in March on episode 499 that the new Roadster was in active development. And then on the next earnings call after his appearance on this podcast, which was in April, that was the Q1 earnings call, which until next week is still the most recent one. You may remember from that earnings call that the Roadster changed status in that installed annual capacity chart in the shareholder letter for literally the first time ever, changing from in development to design development. And on top of all of that, note Elon's choice of words there. He said, most epic demo ever. Keep those words in your mind because almost exactly 1 year ago, at the 2024 Tesla Takeover event, Elon spoke via Zoom at that event to the crowd and said this.
I think the Roadster demo will be mind-blowing. It might be the most mind-blowing demo of anything ever.
Wow. So, quick follow-up. When is that happening on that one?
I think next year sometime. It's kind of applying rocket engineering with Tesla EV engineering to make something really special.
I heard it can fly a little.
Yeah.
So almost the same phrasing there. So all in, a lot of corroborating evidence leading up to this statement by Elon to suggest that he, in fact, is talking about the Roadster. Now, I've been hurt too many times before to fully commit head first into the pool to this being the case, to me being confident that he's talking about the Roadster until he explicitly tells us that that is what he's talking about. Because I think the other thing that it could be is Optimus. A new Optimus demo that left him blown away. And the reason that I say Optimus specifically is because we know that Elon is already really excited about Optimus. Like really, really excited. He talks about it a lot. He talks about it as a huge part of Tesla's future. And he hasn't really shown much enthusiasm for the Roadster over the past, 7 years. But maybe this demo at the design studio got him excited about the Roadster. Because if Elon gets excited about it, that means it'll finally actually happen. I think we can all agree on that. If he's got a focus on it, he's excited about it, resources will be diverted and allocated, and it will happen. Although, now that I think about it, I might be talking myself out of the Optimus possibility, because remember, he just had his big design review with the Optimus team. I talked about that on last week's podcast 1 week ago. So while I can't rule it out, it might not necessarily make sense that he had another meeting about Optimus at the design studio that left him with his jaw on the floor, like whatever this did. So maybe it really is about the new Roadster this time, finally. Now, if I allow myself to believe that it is, then here's what else I start thinking about. 1, a demo of the new Roadster, whatever mind-blowing demo he's talking about, which I would have to think involves the SpaceX package, probably involves the car hovering and or flying down a quarter-mile drag strip at an unheard of speed and time. But that demo would by necessity also be a re-reveal of that car. Whatever its design updates are, whatever its final capabilities are, they're not just going to do a SpaceX package demo and then put the Roadster back in mothballs again for 7 more years. So what if this is about the Roadster, it's going to be a re-reveal of that car. Not necessarily the specs, but probably, because those are such natural and obvious questions that anyone would ask at a re-reveal / product demo. So we would know if they're really going ahead with a 200 kilowatt hour battery pack, and thus, if we're really getting a supercar with a 620 mile range battery pack in it. And then 2, showing this car again would, well, I don't want to say put Tesla on the clock with this car, because to suggest that after we've been waiting this long would be laughable, but it would be Tesla intentionally putting this car back into the public eye after it's been out of it for a very long time. Because as I was putting these notes together, I had to rack my brain, and I believe the last time the new Roadster was publicly displayed in any way was at the Peterson Auto Museum in May of 2021, over 4 years ago. And that wasn't even Tesla showing it, it was the museum showing it, which I know, but it was publicly presented, right? The last time Tesla itself displayed the new Roadster, I believe, was at Battery Day in 2020. I was there. And so, I think it puts a reasonable expectation that the car is finally only around 12 to 24 months away. Model 3 first deliveries were 16 months after the unveiling. Granted, those first deliveries were only to employees, but still, the car was actually being sold and delivered and seen on public roads. Model Y deliveries were just 12 months after the unveiling. The Cybertruck, well, that one went pretty sideways for plenty of reasons. One, They didn't even have a plant to build it when they unveiled it in 2019. They did say at the time it would be available 2 years later in the fall of 2021. Plus, there was that whole global pandemic thing that disrupted supply chains and plenty of other stuff. But the Cybertruck ended up being 48 months, or basically exactly 4 years, from unveiling to first deliveries. Of course, Roadster has already had its gone sideways since the unveiling period. So I'm not counting that. If we're just starting the clock from the re-reveal, I think it's a 12 to 24 month window that we're looking at. Plus, I'm just confident that Tesla wouldn't show this thing after all this time unless it was finally getting fairly close. So that means if they show it in, say, November of 2025, because Elon said end of year. Now, I know he's not always awesome with timelines. Maybe the demo slips to early next year. I don't know. But if we just take him at face value for now, if they show it in November of 2025, then I think we're looking at somewhere between the summer of 2027 and holiday 2027 for first deliveries of that car, which would be, holiday 2027 would be 10 years exactly from when it was originally unveiled. In fact, if this demo happens at the end of the year, and if it's the Roadster, just that demo would be 8 years since the original unveiling back in November of 2017. I say that just to remind you of how insane the timeline has been on this thing so far. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go cross my fingers and cross my toes, and I'm going to keep them, I'm going to hold them that way until the end of the year, whenever this demo, for whatever it is, actually happens. Next up this week, Tesla announced its summer software update. Some of you may have already received it by the time that you're hearing this. I have not yet received it in either car. I thought I was going to get it, today I think it was, as I'm recording, in the older car, the 2018, turned out to just be a minor fixes update. So still no go in either one of my cars, but some folks have started to get it. It's version 2025.26. Perhaps not coincidentally, that 26 in the version number indicates the 26th week of the year, and thus the exact halfway point of the year, aka summer. Let's go through what to expect when this update hits your car, though I do have to share the unfortunate caveat up front that some of these features that I'm about to tell you about are for the Hardware 4, AI 4, AMD Ryzen chipset cars only. First one is Grok, Tesla's AI, the XAI. Grok, now available directly in your Tesla, requires premium connectivity or a Wi-Fi connection. Grok is currently in beta and does not issue commands to your car. Existing voice commands remain unchanged. These descriptions, by the way, all this text comes from Tesla's own official post on X about the summer software update. So you can chat with Grok in your car starting as soon as you get this update. Although this one is an AI4 only update for now. The next one is Light Sync for the new Model 3 and the new Model Y, and also the new S and X, meaning the 2026 S and X. That's how they've designated the just refreshed cars. And then every Cybertruck as well. Accent lights now respond to music, and you can also choose to match the lights to the album's color for a more immersive effect. And I'll say, this is the one that I'm personally most excited about. I'm just really hyped that Tesla is finally going to start playing around with the accent lighting now that they've put that accent lighting into all of the car's interiors. As soon as I get this, I'm absolutely going to try out both the matching the lights to the music as well as the matching the lights to the album colors cover. I will say my accent lighting habits so far in the, 7 months I've owned my new car now, is what I've been doing is basically about once a month, I go in there and I switch the color because I get bored with whatever color it's been. So I think, at least for me, this should be a fun way to keep it fresh every single day. Next, in the summer software update, audio settings update. You can create and save multiple presets to match your listening preferences. Yes, huge shout out to Randall from Raleigh, North Carolina on this one, because he had just called in requesting this exact thing 4 episodes ago. So Randall, I'm going to say you willed this into existence. Tesla heard you, and I think this is going to be a welcome quality of life feature for many folks that might listen to podcasts sometimes, music other times, Audible or Apple Music, that kind of thing. Just lets you quickly switch audio presets. That is most welcome. Next, a dash cam update. You can now zoom or adjust the playback speed. Cybertruck also gets the updated dash cam viewer app with a grid view for easier access and review of recordings. The rest of the cars have already had that. So, hey, I'm always happy when Sentry Mode and dash cam get better. Being able to zoom in sounds great. I will happily take that. Thank you, Tesla, for continuing to make Sentry and dash cam even better. Still my all-time favorite software feature that they've added over the air. My all-time favorite over-the-air update, because my 2018 Model 3 was delivered without Sentry Mode, without dash cam. It was added, I'd have to go back and look it up. I think it was in 2019. And that has just, to me, been the best and most useful over-the-air update feature that they've ever added. You may have a different opinion, certainly, but boy, do I love that feature. A couple more here. Charging info at arrival. In the charger list, you can now see which locations require valet service or pay-to-park access. Upon arrival, you'll receive a notification with access codes, parking restrictions, level or floor information, and restroom availability. So hey, another nice little quality of life improvement. Having more information right on your car's screen about where you're going before you even get there, super handy. Love that. And then the last thing in the summer software update is an onboarding guide. This is going to be available in the new Model 3 and the new Model Y, and apparently only left-hand drive versions of them for whatever reason. Maybe they're still working on updating it for right-hand drive. But they say if this is your first Tesla, the onboarding guide helps you get familiar with your Tesla. You'll get a rundown of how to adjust driver settings using the touchscreen, as well as controlling lights, wipers, and autopilot features with the steering wheel, among other functions. And this is an absolutely fantastic idea. This goes back to my years old pleas for Tesla to do more onboarding for new people, new EV drivers, and do it right on the car's screen rather than expecting people to read the owner's manual, which not a lot of people do. Heck, I'll admit it right now. I have not read my Model 3 owner's manual. I've looked up little bits and pieces, but I've never sat down and read it. So having this onboarding guide, I think, is awesome. And that will only help welcome new people into their what is probably going to be the first EV for a lot of folks. That is everything in the summer software update. I was curious which of these new features that you all are most excited about. So I made this the subject of this week's Patreon poll. A reminder that anybody and everybody can vote in each week's Patreon poll. It is just set to public. You don't have to be supporting me on Patreon. You don't have to be backing me. You can just cruise on by to patreon.com/Tesla podcast every week to cast your vote. The poll typically goes up on Tuesday evenings, but just cruise on by anytime during the week and cast your vote. I'd love to hear from you. Got a lot of votes in this one, so thank you to everybody that took the time to vote, And the poll question was simply, which summer update feature are you most excited about? And it was a runaway. It was a landslide in this one. 46% of you said Grok AI. And the thing I'm most excited about came in third to last. Didn't fare too well. Cabin accent lighting syncing to your music. Just 8% of the vote. But that's okay. That's the nice part about the summer update. We all have different things that we're looking forward to checking out. 13% said multiple audio presets. 10% said seeing charging info at your arrival before you depart. 7% said the dash cam updates, the zoom and adjusting playback speed. And just 2% voted for the onboarding guide, which makes perfect sense because pretty much everybody listening to this podcast is an existing Tesla enthusiast, and most of you are probably existing Tesla owners as well, so that's not going to be necessarily as useful of a feature to any of you. And 14% of you said, none of this excites me, sorry. So that's okay. Hopefully they'll get you with the fall update. They'll have something cool for you. But thanks again, everybody, for stopping by my Patreon page to vote in this week's Patreon poll. Before I continue with this week's Tesla and EV news, and yes, there is plenty more to talk about, I want to mention my friends at XCare. Yes, exciting news. Their 10-year anniversary celebration continues. They are celebrating 10 years of protecting EV drivers across the country. To mark the occasion, they're giving you 10% off of their industry-leading EV warranty, XCare EV protection. Just use the code XUSA10 at checkout. If you drive a Tesla, Rivian, or any EV, you know that repairs can get expensive when they're out of warranty. XCare has your back, covering major components like the battery and drive unit, plus offering roadside assistance, rental coverage, and hassle-free claims process. Trust me, I'm a client. I've used it, and I have done that claim process. It actually is hassle-free. So yeah, these guys are EV pros. They're making sure that you're covered when it matters most. So if you've been thinking about protecting your EV, now is the time. Visit xcare.com and use code XUSA10 for 10% off. But don't wait, this offer is only good for a limited time. Again, that's xcare.com, code XUSA10. Drive smart, drive protected. By the way, I meant to mention this earlier. I know I've already kind of served up a couple of entrees. We're going to go back to the appetizer tray here for a second. Tesla has set the date for its annual shareholder meeting for 2025. You may have been wondering, hey, wait, what happened to it? Because it's been in May the past few years, and it had been in early June for a number of years prior. The latest that it had ever been up until now was at the end of September back in 2020, when the pandemic had, of course, thrown everything for a loop. So this year's event will be on November 6th. And as is now normal, it'll be at Giga Texas, because that, of course, is Tesla's corporate headquarters. As always, I will have the recap, highlights, and analysis from both Elon's presentation, as well as the best of the shareholder Q&A. And speaking of shareholder questions, I hope all of you who are very generously supporting the podcast over at patreon.com/Tesla podcast at that $10 per month tier or higher, that's the most popular tier. I hope you folks enjoyed this week's lightning round bonus mini episode, which was about the 5 retail shareholder questions that I would ask on this week's earnings call for Q2. Meaning if the retail shareholders collectively said, Ryan, we want you to just take the mic. We know you're going to ask good questions. I mean, well, this is in my little fantasy. I mean, nobody would actually say that. But if I had the mic, these are the 5 questions that I would ask. So check that out on Patreon if you are already supporting me on Patreon. And if you're not, but you'd like to hear that and the other 150 lightning round mini episodes, you can do that by signing up and joining my Patreon, either as the regular month-to-month support or There is a 10% discount, on annual support. So if you just want to pay once, support me once for an entire year, there's a 10% discount for that. Again, the website is patreon.com/Tesla podcast. And if $10 is, you're like, no, you're not worth $10 a month, Ryan, forget it. If I'm worth $5 to you, $5, the thank you that I give you for that is giving you early access to each week's episode and giving you an ad-free version of each week's episode. But don't worry, if you're at the $10 tier or higher, all the perks and bonuses stack. So the $10 tier gets not only all 151 lightning round mini episodes, but also the early access and the ad-free. See where I'm going here? So join me on Patreon. I would be so humbled and grateful if you chose to do that. Visit patreon.com/Tesla podcast. Next up this week, Tesla has begun robotaxi certification in Arizona. This comes via Teslarati, who grabbed it from Bloomberg. Tesla has initiated discussions with Arizona transportation regulators to certify its driverless robotaxi service in the state, as per a recent report from Bloomberg News. The move follows Tesla's launch of its robotaxi pilot program in Austin, Texas, as well as CEO Elon Musk's recent comments about the service's expansion in the Bay Area. The Arizona Department of Transportation confirmed to Bloomberg that Tesla has reached out to begin the certification process for autonomous ride-sharing operations in the state. While details remain limited, the outreach suggests that Tesla is serious about expanding its driverless robotaxi service to several territories in the coming months. Well, I suppose it makes sense to use the same cities that Waymo has been using, because one, it allows you to benchmark against the competition. Two, the path to regulatory approval has already been paved, which is probably the biggest reason, honestly. And three, in the specific case of the Phoenix metro area in Arizona, where I spent most of my formative years, it is flat with wide grid-patterned roads, very simple roads. And I say that as a compliment, not as a criticism, compared to San Francisco, which is kind of crazy when it comes to our roads here. I speak from experience, spending 15 years in Arizona, when I say that there are not a lot of corner cases in the Phoenix area. I think the robotaxi should perform pretty well there. And by the way, speaking of the robotaxi service, you may have seen this week. If not, you might want to look it up just to see the imagery if you're looking for a little laugh. Tesla increased the size of its geofenced service area in Austin this week, which you think, well, that's great. They're in a bigger area. They're serving more of Austin. That's a good sign for the rollout of the robotaxi. And all of that is true. But if you go look at an overlay of the map, which is all over the internet at this point, it's either somewhat reminiscent of the Tesla T logo turned upside down, or it's a much funnier shape than that. Now, this is a family-friendly podcast, so I will leave it to you to go look it up for yourself if you're not quite sure what I'm very carefully trying to suggest here. But in all seriousness, though, like I said, substantially increasing the size of that robotaxi service area, and especially so soon after the initial launch, I think it does bode well for how things are going so far. Next this week, on last week's podcast, I mentioned how Tesla's sales in the UK had enjoyed a serious bounce back. And now Tesla sales in Norway are soaring again as well, with the new Model Y, as you'd expect, leading the charge. I saw this one on Teslarati, who wrote, according to the Norwegian Road Federation, Tesla recorded a 54% year-over-year jump in new vehicle registrations in June. The Model Y led the charge, posting a 115% increase compared to the same period last year. Tesla Norway's growth was even more notable in May, with sales surging a whopping 213%, as noted in a CNBC report. Christina Boo, Secretary General of the Norwegian EV Association, stated that Tesla's strong market performance was partly due to the updated Model Y, which is really just a good car, period. Quote, I think it just has to do with the fact that they deliver a car which has quite a lot of value for the money and is what Norwegians need. What Norwegians need, a large luggage space, all-wheel drive, and a tow hitch, high ground clearance as well. In addition, quite good digital solutions, which people have gotten used to, and also a charging network, she said. Well, I would say that this is arguably even more important to see than the UK numbers from last week, because Norway is, as I think many of us would agree, certainly the EV capital of Europe and probably the world for that matter. And really, my comments about this mirror what I said last week about the UK. The year-over-year increase of, in this case, 115% is substantial not just in a vacuum, but also because it is measuring against the Generation 1 Model Y being in full production in June of last year. And the 54% overall year-over-year boost for Tesla is awesome, which basically just means that the Model 3 did well too, since I imagine not many S's and X's are being sold there and Cybertruck isn't available at all. And the 213% in May, that was probably from the first wave, big wave, obviously, of the new Model Y arriving in the country. All good signs. That said, I have to believe there's probably no way that the Model Y is going to be the best-selling car in the world again for the third straight year, because the production changeover to the new Y alone would have prevented that, even if Elon's foray into politics hadn't created some amount of seemingly temporary negative effect on Tesla sales. Now, next year, we shall see, as the cheaper Model Y Mini should be available for most, if not all, of 2026. The Model Y L should be available worldwide for most, if not all, of 2026. The 7-seat Model Y and the Performance Model Y should also all be back in the lineup by the start of next year. And speaking of Tesla sales numbers, Cox Automotive has their US data for Q2. Another tip of the cap here to the aforementioned Sawyer Merritt, which is where I saw this. Overall EV sales, according to Cox Automotive, are down 6% year over year for Q2 in the US, with a total of just under 311,000 EVs sold between the beginning of April and the end of June. Model Y topped the list, and it wasn't even close, with Cox saying Tesla sold 86,000 plus Model Y in the US in Q2. By the way, I'm just giving you rounded off numbers here because I think it's just annoying and time consuming to give you the exact number for this stuff. It almost doubled the next best seller for Q2 in the US, which was, you guessed it, the Model 3 at 48,000 units. A very distant third, just as, in fairness, the Model 3 was a distant second to the Y. In third is the fairly new Chevy Equinox EV with 17,000 units sold. And honestly, it does seem like Chevy's got something of a hit there. For that vehicle to jump right to number 3 on the list that quickly, that is awesome. That is great to see. It's impressive. The Mustang Mach-E from Ford was number 4 with just over 10,000 units in Q2 in the US. And rounding out the top 5 was the Hyundai Ioniq 5 with just over 10,000 units as well. Just a couple hundred behind the Mach-E. So they were pretty neck and neck. And if you're curious about some other notable EVs, like the Cybertruck, That came in at number 13 at an estimated 4,300 units, which, even though Cybertruck is sold in Canada and Mexico, to add a bit to these numbers, still pretty disappointing, because that projects out to maybe 20,000 units for the year, since it's, of course, only sold in North America for now. I mean, well, it is coming to Saudi Arabia / UAE at the end of the year, but for this year's numbers, those numbers are going to be like 99% North American numbers. And of those, probably like 90% in the US. But 4,300 units for the Cybertruck in Q2. Again, projecting out to, like I said, maybe 20,000 for the year, at least until the price finally drops, whenever that's going to be. In fact, the F-150 Lightning beat the Cybertruck in Q2, coming in at number 10 on the list with 5,800 units sold. The Rivian R1S was number 9 with over 6,100 units. The Model X, if you're curious, was 22 on the list, 2,800 plus units. The Lucid Air, 24 with 2,600 plus units. And the Model S, number 34 with just over 1,400 units. And as the folks at Cox Automotive noted, Q3 should see a spike for everyone on this EV list with that upcoming end of the $7,500 federal EV tax credit. It will be interesting to see this exact list for Q3 for sure. All right, I've got one more story for you this week. It comes in other EV news, and it's about Lucid. They have brought hands-free driving to their Lucid Air via Dream Drive Pro. Saw this one on Drive Tesla Canada, who writes, Lucid is taking a significant step forward in its advanced driver assistance technology with the addition of hands-free driving and lane change features to its Dream Drive Pro system. The new capabilities will be delivered via an over-the-air software update starting on July 30th, 2025 for Lucid Air owners. Gravity SUV owners will have to wait a little longer until they receive the update later this year. The update enables two new features: hands-free drive assist and hands-free lane change assist. These will allow drivers to operate their Lucid vehicles without touching the steering wheel. However, changing lanes will still require the driver to initiate using the turn signal stalk. These features only work under certain conditions, such as on compatible divided highways, which in other words means on pre-mapped highways. The company did not elaborate on how many highways have been pre-mapped. Quote, with our in-house software stack, a comprehensive suite of 32 sensors, and regular over-the-air updates, we have a roadmap to continue to deliver significantly more functionality to our owners in the future, said Kai Stepper, Lucid's vice president of ADAS and autonomous driving. Well, obviously, this still lags behind Tesla's FSD system in some pretty key and pretty significant ways, but it's still great to see the progress. I mean, I can't say it's not a competition, because, I mean, it definitely is a competition, but ultimately, the more of these autonomous, safe systems we have on the roads, the safer it is for everyone on the road, whether you're driving a Lucid or a Tesla or a gas-powered car or anything else. It is a good thing to have more of these systems out there, even if they are not yet on Tesla's level with FSD. Now, interestingly, I feel like FSD has, anecdotally speaking, overtaken the supercharger network as a lot of people's biggest reason to stick with Tesla or buy Tesla in the first place as their first EV versus other EV options. Now, obviously, that's because everybody is using the NACS port now, and the supercharger network is wide open here in the US. But until someone licenses the FSD system, Full self-driving is going to remain a moat around Tesla's castle. That you can't get that feature anywhere, not to the level that Tesla's doing it. Again, though, I want to reemphasize this is awesome progress for Lucid owners. It makes an already luxurious car even more luxurious by letting you kick back on freeways. Hopefully it's a lot of freeways that are mapped, but I suppose that remains to be seen. All right, that is everything I've got for you in yet another busy week of Tesla and EV news. Stick with me, though. Your phone calls are coming up next in the Ride the Lightning hotline.
This is Bill Daniels, the voice of Light Industries 2000, or KIT. You're listening to Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast. Happy electric motoring.
Welcome to the Ride the Lightning hotline. This is your chance to potentially be featured on the podcast. If you've got a question, comment, or discussion topic, I welcome and encourage you to call in on the Ride the Lightning hotline. There are two easy ways to do that. Either way, I kindly ask that you keep your call to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many callers each week as possible. So the two call-in methods: one, use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software. Record your question and just email the file to me at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less question and call in anytime at the toll-free Ride the Lightning hotline phone number, which is 1-888-989-8752. That number again, 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. First up is John from West Virginia.
Hey, Ryan, this is John from West Virginia. Just listening to 519, and it just struck me, is there a age restriction on using cybercab, robo-taxi? I know some of the services do. I've never heard anybody mention it. Thank you, and have a great day.
John, thanks for your call, because this is a valid question that I honestly hadn't considered, since I've been old enough to use any rideshare service since they first came into existence. So I looked it up, and at least with Uber, you have to be 18 to ride, though they do have an Uber for Teens part of the service, which is described as such, quote, "Teen accounts are the only authorized way for teens aged 13 to 17 to use the Uber platform with consent from their legal guardian," end quote. So I can't say that Tesla is going to just follow Uber's lead there. Tesla can obviously do anything they want, but I suspect that they may very well mirror Uber's policy, at least in the beginning. I think that's a reasonable starting point, at least as far as the expectation goes. Take care, John. Thank you so much for that call. Next up, here's Jeff from New Mexico with a suggestion.
Hi, Ryan. This is Jeff from Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Thanks for answering my question about photo radars a couple of weeks back. I have a new question for you. I'm wondering about maps and hopefully trying to make a suggestion about improving the quality of the maps. I think it's great that the maps are functional in the Tesla, but I really dislike the fact that they're monochrome. I don't understand why they don't use color. Why is it not possible to see a map of the terrain? Why is it not possible to see regions like parks and rivers and other open areas with different color coding than just parts of the city? It seems like Tesla's really missing something when it comes to the display of the maps, and I think they can improve the experience quite a bit just by using color in a more intelligent way. And thanks for the answer in advance, and I hope everything's going well with you.
So I emailed Jeff after I listened to his call to say, hey, I think I've got good news for you. I figured I might as well just email it to you now rather than make you wait to hear it on the podcast. There's a terrain view. A satellite view is actually what it's called, which would definitely add some color to your navigation screen. All you got to do is tap on your nav screen so that the icons on the right rail pop up, then tap the globe icon that you'll see near the top, and that will liven the view up for you a little bit. And Jeff said, well, nope, I do know about that. And he was actually specifically requesting more color on that default map view, which, by the way, is what I use as well. For some reason, I don't like the satellite view. So I use the basic grayscale map view as well. And I'll just echo Jeff's wish. I'd love to see some more color in that as well, because these are beautiful, vibrant touchscreens that are in all of our cars. It'd be nice to see Tesla do a little bit more than lean so heavily on grayscale. So I wish I had something else for you, Jeff, but for now, wanted to mention the satellite view for anybody that might not actually know about it, and for people that prefer the regular just top-down map view, we're waiting a little longer here. Maybe the fall update, we get some extra color put into that. I've got time for one more call this week. It comes from Alex in New Zealand, responding to my Hardware 3 complaint as well as Lauren's FSD complaint on Hardware 3 from a few episodes ago. Go ahead, Alex.
Hello again, Ryan and listeners. You've had me on your podcast before. Thank you. My name is Alex. I live in Papamoa, New Zealand. I want to talk about wheel alignment, as mentioned by Lauren recently, and in turn by Tesla, as a possible solution to the FSD steering stability problem. When you have an alignment performed, sometimes the result is not as straightforward as you expect. The car still seems to drift or otherwise not run in a straight line. I think I found the solution to this. In the service mode, you can see an applied offset value, and this is calculated by the car. The smaller the offset is, the better the car runs in a straight line without auto-steer corrections. So you want that offset to be small. If it's more than a degree or two, then it's time to have wheel alignment performed, and make sure to reset that offset value in the process. Otherwise, the technician can be confused afterwards, take the car for a test drive and find that it still doesn't seem to run in a straight line, and they may make further tweaks to the car which actually end up making it worse. So the other point is the inner edge wear on the front tyres. Sometimes this is so much that it can affect the feel of the steering even when the alignment is correct, so you may need new tyres. Now, to reduce that tyre wear, and who doesn't want to reduce tyre wear, we suggest setting the toe value to 0. I've found through trial and error that 0 toe or parallel front wheels seem to work well, good performance on autopilot and extended tyre life. Also, at the back of the car, you need to check the rear knuckle upper joints. We've found in New Zealand a number of cars failing the annual roadworthiness inspection because of play in those joints. That will affect stability as well. Thank you for your time listening to this, and best of luck with curing those auto-steer problems.
Alex, this is an extremely helpful suggestion. I want to thank you for this detailed and thorough list of constructive tips. I could swear that my issues specifically began with an FSD software update at some point, but after I listened to your call, I thought about it and realized that I actually haven't had the alignment in our 2018 checked in 3 years, when really I should be having it checked every 2. That, I believe, is the Tesla recommendation. And I had been doing that previously, but it's now been 3. So it could be one of those things. And the chassis offset thing in the service mode, the service menu, I'll have to take a look at that when I uncover and go take that car out this weekend. But super constructive. Hopefully they help me, and hopefully they help some other folks out there as well. Thank you very much for taking the time to call in. And thank you to everybody that did take the time to call in this week. I will get to more of your phone calls on future episodes, of course. This is a regular segment that appears on just about every episode. Next week with the earnings call, there might not be time for the phone calls. We'll see. But keep those calls coming if you've got a Tesla or EV question comment or discussion topic. I gave you the 2 call-in methods at the top of this segment, so refer back to that if you'd like to call in. As for what's going on with me and my car, well, I will be emceeing the afternoon, I believe it's the afternoon, at the upcoming Tesla/X takeover event this weekend, specifically Saturday, July 26th, here in the San Francisco Bay Area. If you are attending the event this year, I hope you'll find me and say hello. It's always nice to meet you folks in real life. And one other event I wanted to mention, while I will not be at this one personally this year, TeslaCon Florida 2025. I was at the one in 2022. TeslaCon Florida 2025 is coming up fairly soon. It's Friday, September 12th through Sunday, September 14th. It'll be a conference gateway where it is always 5 o'clock. I should learn how to read my own promo here. It's being held at the Margaritaville. My goodness, I really must be time for bed. The Margaritaville Resort in Orlando, where many people will come together to learn, share, network, and explore. We'll see and hear from speakers and exhibitors alike in the Tesla community, as well as enjoy that Florida sun in what should hopefully be a nice time of year there in September. Time for your entertainment recommendation. This one is not family appropriate, but for the adults out there, Squid Game Season 3. Squid Game is now technically officially over, though the ratings for it are so good that it wouldn't surprise me if Netflix threw a bunch of money at it and decided to keep it going. But Season 3, I really liked it. I really, really enjoyed Season 3, and I really just loved the show overall, all 3 seasons. So certainly, I wouldn't encourage you to start at Season 3 if you have never watched it, but if you have watched 1 and 2 and you just haven't checked out 3 yet, I thought it was really good. So that's my entertainment recommendation for the week. And now for your Tesla Pro Tip of the week, here's Julio from Madrid.
Hi, Ryan. This is Julio calling from Madrid, Spain. I'm calling with a pro tip. I think this one hasn't come up yet. So if you go to the charging screen on your Tesla, on the car screen, you know this slider to set the battery percentage to charge to. So if you tap on quote-unquote round numbers like 70 or 60 or 80, it will set the charge level to that number. So no need to slide and adjust. You just tap on 70 and it directly sets the limit to 70%. And also, if you tap in between round numbers, so for example, between 60 and 70, it will set the charge level to 65. So again, no need to slide and adjust in detail. You just tap in between numbers, like, I don't know, between 70 and 80 to set it to 75 directly. So yeah, this is my pro tip. Hope this helps the Ride the Lightning community. Thanks for all you do. Bye.
Thank you, Julio. This one definitely counts. I use this every time myself. But you're right that it's not necessarily obvious since it's a slider bar. And I should note that Julio also followed up and wanted me to mention that this only works on the car screen and not the app, interestingly enough. But this is a good one. Thank you so much for calling in with this. And if anybody else out there has a good Tesla or EV pro tip, boy, would I love to hear it so that I can learn and that I can share that knowledge with the Ride the Lightning audience as well. So call in with your pro tip of the week if you've got one. And just all you got to do is call in the same way that you would call in with the regular Ride the Lightning hotline. I gave you the 2 call-in methods for that a little while ago. Also, I should note, I was a bad host earlier. The TeslaCon Florida, I forgot to give the website. So if you're interested in learning more about the TeslaCon Florida event coming up in September, go to teslaownersflorida.org. That is the website to check out. A quick shout out to some friends of Ride the Lightning before I go. I will start with abstractocean.com, who's got 1 million different aftermarket Tesla accessories and a 15% off your first order coupon code for listeners of this show. That coupon code is RTL Podcast, all one word, no spaces. And they have got, apparently a hot seller over there for you Cybertruck owners, is XPEL armor pieces. So PPF pieces, they've got rear bumper protection, front bumper protection, bed sail trim and lip protection, fender flares, the rockers, the tailgate, and these are all things you can install yourself. They're all custom fit pieces. You can even just buy the full kit if you want everything. Side mirrors, it just goes on. They've got so much stuff for those non-stainless pieces on the Cybertruck. So do take a look at that at abstractocean.com and click on Cybertruck on the top navigation for those of you who have Cybertrucks. And don't forget the coupon code RTL Podcast at checkout to get 15% off of your first order. Remember, that's RTL Podcast, no spaces in it, all one word. Meanwhile, SnapPlate and SnapPlate Plus available for all the Teslas, plus a couple of non-Tesla EVs as well. This is the front license plate bracket that I prefer, that I recommend, because it goes on safely and securely, but also comes off cleanly if you want to remove it for whatever reason. So check them out at everyamp.com/RTL. And when you've got whatever you like in the shopping cart, when you're at checkout, use the coupon code RTL as well for a nice discount. This product, if you're curious, was designed by former nuclear power plant engineers who say that safety and conservatism is ingrained in us, so we've designed SnapPlate to be the safe option we wanted for our personal vehicles. But we've learned over the last number of years that different people have different priorities, and many customers just want things to be as strong as possible. So in addition to the regular SnapPlate, the SnapPlate Plus is designed to give those customers the strongest possible mount. Again, check them out, everyamp.com/RTL, and use the coupon code RTL on whatever you buy, or just click the link in the episode description as well. Immaculate Reflections. If you are in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area with your Tesla or another car that you love, I urge you to make an appointment at Immaculate Reflections by going to the website irdetailing.com. Use the contact form there. Mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, because if you do, you've got a summer special waiting for you, which will get you. You don't have to buy all this, just whatever. This is a la carte here. $200 off of any paint correction service. $500 off of any ceramic coating package, which I wish I could take advantage of now, since the 2018 needs new ceramic coating, but that's okay. We got to pay off our new heat pump, adulting. Anyway, you can take advantage of it right now. $500 off of ceramic coating package, 15% off of any paint protection film package. And no, you don't have to do the entire car. That's any package. So whether you want to do just the front end or the rocker panels, kind of the key areas, whatever you want to do, the owner there, Jeff, will happily work with you. Go to irdetailing.com. I would be very humbled and grateful if you would check out my Patreon page if you enjoy this podcast. That website again is patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Patreon is spelled Patreon, or again, you can just click the link in the episode description. Patreon is a platform that's been around for 10 plus years now, and it exists to allow creators to be supported by their audiences. So there are authors on there, poets on there, musicians on there, podcasters like me on there. All kinds of creative people are on Patreon. And I don't know if I would call myself creative, but I put a lot of work and energy and enthusiasm and time and love into this podcast each and every week, as I have done for, oh, by the way, the actual 10-year anniversary is technically, let's see here, 2 episodes away. Wow, cool. Anyway, 10 years. So if you can spare $5 a month, you can support me on Patreon. And for that $5 a month, I will give you an ad-free episode every week. And I'll give you that ad-free episode early every week as well. If you are kind enough to step up to the $10 per month tier, you'll get the ad-free and the early access, and you'll get all of the past, present, and future, as long as you're backing me on Patreon, episodes of those lightning round mini episodes that I do every week. So again, please check out my Patreon page if you have a chance. You can find it at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. And if you're not already following this podcast, I recommend you do so. It's free on any of the big podcast services. Just search Ride the Lightning Tesla, and you should see this podcast pop right up. And it's any of the big ones. So Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, etc. Just click follow when you find me. And then every time there's a new episode, which is every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, you'll get a push notification on your device reminding you that there is a new episode. You just tap that and it'll take you straight to it and you can start listening. And you can email me anytime you like about any Tesla or EV related thing at teslapodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow me on X and or on Instagram. I have the same username on both, and that username is DMC_Ryan. Finally, as always, a big thank you and hello goes out to the top tier Patreon backers. These are the extra generous folks that are really supporting the podcast in a generous way, extra generous way, and I super appreciate it. I will start by saying hello and thank you to the Roadster in Space tier backers, Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, American Home Contractors, Doug Carey, Michael Gallo, and Tony Figueroa. Gosh, come to think of it, a lot of those folks were in attendance for this month's Patreon Zoom Hangout, which we did last Saturday. Had a fantastic conversation. It started, we talked about pinball, because there was a Patreon backer in there who had an absolutely killer pinball setup behind him. So we started on usually we keep it to EV related topics, but we had a fun little moment talking pinball, because pinball is fun. Anyway, the Roadster and Space tier backers get invited to that monthly Patreon Zoom Hangout, and the Roadster and Space crew has the option for a one-on-one Patreon Hangout with me each month if they elect to choose it, and several of them do, and it's always fun to talk to those folks. The Maximum Plaid backers get invited to that monthly Zoom Hangout as well, in addition to, of course, their name shout-out, the lightning rounds every week, the early access, the ad-free, all that stuff. The Maximum Plaid backers, big thanks to Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Damon Klein, Jeff Brown, Jerry Slinger, Clayton Goodfellow, Kenneth Corbett, Brian Bertoglio, Kim Bay, Troy Sievers, Nick Jacoby, and Chip Hooper. And finally, the grandfathered in plaid level supporters, Huge thanks to them for continuing to support me, even though this tier is technically no more, but they continue to support, so they continue to get all the perks and bonuses that they should get, including their shout out each week. And so thank you to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk in quotes, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. And that will wrap up episode 520 of Ride the Lightning. Should be a fun one next week if my source is correct and the Model Y Mini gets announced, and we'll probably hear more about the Model Y L as well. I'm sure somebody's going to ask the question, when's that coming to the US? And I wonder if Tesla's going to try to dodge the question for now, or what the response there might be. But it should be a good one next week. The earnings call episodes are again, always fun to put together. Hopefully you'll enjoy listening to it. But until then, I say happy electric motoring, my friends, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.